Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny has released a 2-hour video investigation into the complex, saying the palace was built for Russian President Vladimir Putin using taxpayer money.
Behind Russia's Iron Curtain, there's a world the authorities don't want you to see. Yet some daring photographers have risked it all to smuggle out jaw-dropping images that defy censorship and expose forbidden truths. From haunting glimpses of secret government facilities to crazy insights into everyday life, these images tell a story of control, defiance, and the risks people take to expose the truth. Join us as we expose 10 illegal photos smuggled out of Russia. Number 10. Soviet Gulags in Siberia. Soviet Gulags in Siberia were some of the most notorious labor camps in history. These camps, first established in the 1930s under Joseph Stalin's regime, were designed to hold political prisoners, intellectuals, and anyone deemed a threat to the Soviet government. These people were forced to work in extremely harsh conditions, often in the most remote and freezing parts of Siberia. Thousands of prisoners were sent to these camps, with many not surviving the brutal conditions. The Gulags were part of the Soviet Union's system of punishment and control, and they were spread across the country. But Siberia, with its vast, unforgiving wilderness, was home to some of the most feared camps. Prisoners were forced to work in coal mines, forests, or construction sites, enduring temperatures that often fell below -40 degrees Fahrenheit. The freezing cold, combined with starvation, illness, and exhaustion, killed thousands every year. Some rare photos smuggled out of these gulags give us a chilling glimpse of life inside. They show skeletal prisoners, barely clothed, working under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Barracks were overcrowded, with sick prisoners sleeping on wooden planks, barely surviving each day. The prisoners were often referred to as zeks, and many of them were sentenced for minor offenses, such as telling anti-Soviet jokes or criticizing the government. These crimes were considered counter-revolutionary, and the punishment was years of forced labor in these Siberian camps. The worst of these camps included the infamous Kolyma Gulag, where prisoners were forced to mine gold and other minerals. Conditions were so bad that the camp earned the nickname the Land of White Death. It's estimated that hundreds of thousands of prisoners died in Kolyma alone due to malnutrition, freezing temperatures, and exhaustion. Another notorious camp was the Vorkuta Gulag, which was part of the Soviet Union's coal mining industry. The photos from these camps reveal malnourished prisoners with hollow eyes, showing the cruelty they endured on a daily basis. Food was scarce, medical care was non-existent, and the guards treated prisoners like animals. Despite the government's efforts to hide these camps from the outside world, a few brave photographers and journalists managed to sneak photos out. These rare images revealed the horrific truth of the Gulag system, sparking international outrage when they were finally published. But if you think these photos from the Soviet Gulags are bad, wait until you see the next set of images. They reveal recent secrets of the Russian army that no one was ever meant to see. Number 9. Burnt Russian submarine. In September 2023, haunting images of a burnt Russian submarine were leaked, exposing the damage that the Russian government initially tried to downplay. The first photos showed the Russian Rostov-on-Don Project 636.3 submarine scorched and blackened at a dry dock in Sevastopol, Crimea. These images, leaked by a Western media outlet, revealed the aftermath of a significant strike by Ukrainian forces during the ongoing war. The attack also severely damaged a large landing ship, the Minsk, which was stationed alongside the submarine. The incident occurred in the pre-dawn hours, when a barrage of missiles hit the Sevastopol shipyard, an important naval base for the Russian Black Sea Fleet. This strike was described as one of the most significant attacks on Russian naval targets since the war began. Ukraine implied that the attack was carried out using Western-supplied cruise missiles, though this was never officially confirmed. The Russian Ministry of Defense, through state-run RIA Novosti, quickly responded to the incident, claiming that both the submarine and the Minsk ship sustained only minimal damage. They asserted that repairs would be carried out and the vessels would soon return to active service. However, the leaked photos told a different story. The images showed the submarine's burned-out shell with significant structural damage that would take months, if not longer, to repair. It was clear that the strike had dealt a major blow to Russia's naval capabilities in the region. The submarine's loss or severe damage is a serious setback for Russia, particularly in the highly contested Black Sea region, where control of the waters is critical. For Russia, the attack on the Sevastopol shipyard and the destruction of key naval assets is a significant embarrassment. The leaked images showing the extent of the damage have undermined the government's attempt to maintain a facade of control in the face of continued military setbacks. It's no shock that the Russian government keeps secrets about its military. Even Putin, the country's president himself, stays extremely secretive about his personal life. If you are curious about what secrets he is hiding, well, you're about to find out in the next set of images. Number 8. Putin's secret daughters. Putin's secrecy about his family has fueled public curiosity about their lives. During a marathon news conference in 2015, Putin addressed questions about his daughters without revealing much. He stated, "My daughters live in Russia and studied only in Russia. I am proud of them. They speak 3 foreign languages fluently. I never discuss my family with anyone." He further emphasized their right to live their lives away from the public eye, asserting that they do so with dignity. Putin's reluctance to disclose personal details is understandable, given the intense scrutiny faced by political figures and their families. His daughters, Maria Vorontsova and Katerina Tikhonova, born in 1985 and 1986, respectively, have lived largely out of the public eye. Their mother, Lyudmila Shkrepneva, was a flight attendant when she married Putin, who was then a KGB officer, in 1983. The couple's marriage lasted until 2013, when they announced their separation.
Now, Russia's president and his wife say their 30-year marriage is over. Lyudmila and Vladimir Putin confirmed long-running rumors of their separation to a TV reporter at the Kremlin,
attributing it to their busy lives and lack of time together. Maria Vorontsova, the elder daughter, has built a successful career in academia. She studied biology at St. Petersburg University and medicine at Moscow State University. Currently, she specializes in the endocrine system and works at the Endocrinology Research Center in Moscow. In addition to her academic pursuits, she is also involved in business, reportedly co-owning a company that plans to build a major medical center. Maria was previously married to Kirill Shamalov, the son of a close friend of Putin, but their marriage ended amid growing tensions following the invasion of Ukraine. Katerina Tikhonova, on the other hand, has made a name for herself in academia and business. She appeared briefly on Russian state media in 2018 and at a business forum in 2021, though her connection to Putin was never mentioned during those appearances. Both daughters have maintained a low profile, and it is said that they do not spend much time with their father or in the public, all thanks to some photographers who have secretly captured them. In some moments, we probably wouldn't have all these images we are looking at right now. What else is Putin concealing from the public beyond his daughters? Get ready to uncover more in the following images. Number 7. Putin's secret palace. In 2021, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny made headlines when he revealed the existence of a secret, luxurious palace allegedly owned by President Vladimir Putin. This sprawling complex, perched on a cliff overlooking the Black Sea, is estimated to be worth $1.3 billion. While Putin has denied owning the palace, the leaked documents and photos suggest otherwise. The palace showcases extreme wealth and secrecy, completely isolated from the rest of Russia by 17,000 acres of forest and protected by a no-fly zone. The massive 190,000 square foot estate boasts an unbelievable level of luxury. According to the leaked documents, the palace has a casino, a wine cellar, a private theater, and even an ice rink. There's also a church on the property, catering to every possible need of its high-profile owner. But what really caught the attention of many were the detailed blueprints revealing a secret network of tunnels underneath the palace. These tunnels are believed to serve as an escape route for Putin, highlighting the extreme measures taken to ensure his safety and privacy. The revelations were part of a report by Navalny's Anti-Corruption Foundation, which published nearly 500 photographs of the palace, showcasing its opulent design. Inside, the mansion is decorated with marble pools, busts of Greek gods, and hundreds of gilded double-headed eagles, the symbol of the Russian state. One of Navalny's researchers, Georgy Alberov, said, "Putin is even worse than we expected," referring to the extreme luxury that exceeds even their initial investigations. The Russian government tried to dismiss the claims, but the images led to protests in Russia. The protests grew as citizens demanded answers. Feeling betrayed by the lavish lifestyle their leader seemed to be hiding while they faced tough economic conditions. Because while Putin enjoys his life of unimaginable luxury, many of his citizens, especially in Moscow, are living in secret underground communities, barely surviving in the shadows. The next set of images you're about to see proves this. Number 6. Hidden homeless communities. Beneath the glamorous surface of Moscow lies a hidden world few people know about. Underground network of bunkers, tunnels, and sewer systems where the city's homeless secretly live. These communities, tucked away in the shadows, have grown as Moscow's homeless population seeks refuge from the harsh winters and increasingly strict authorities. Though hidden from the public eye, haunting photos have emerged, capturing the grim reality of these underground lives, showcasing a side of the city that authorities prefer to keep out of sight. The hidden bunkers and tunnels are part of the Soviet-era infrastructure, initially built for military use and civil defense. Over time, they've been repurposed by the homeless, who use these dark, damp spaces to survive. Some areas are located as far as 100 feet below ground, providing shelter from the brutal cold, where temperatures often drop well below freezing in winter. For many, these tunnels are the only barrier between life and death during the city's infamous freezing months. The homeless here live in constant fear of being discovered by authorities, who regularly patrol these tunnels and conduct raids. Moscow's government has cracked down on the homeless population in recent years, pushing people out of public spaces and attempting to clean up the city. But with limited resources and shelters, many have no choice but to retreat underground. Some of the photos reveal makeshift beds, personal belongings, and even small communities that have formed deep within the maze of tunnels. It's a world of survival, but one where hope is scarce and safety is never guaranteed. In some images, you can see graffiti on the walls, remnants of small fires used for warmth, and narrow passageways leading to forgotten parts of the city. The photos also show the harsh conditions the homeless endure: moldy, humid environments with poor air quality and the ever-present threat of being swept away by floods or targeted by authorities. Yet despite the dangers, these hidden communities continue to exist, out of sight, but never far from the bustling city above. Now let's move a little away from citizens living underground to a revelation that would shock you, because the next set of images you are about to see reveals a true story, the true state of a former US Marine who was arrested in Russia. Number 5. Paul Whelan inside a Russian prison. Paul Whelan, a former U.S. Marine, has been a central figure in a high-profile espionage case in Russia since his arrest in December 2018. Whelan was detained in Moscow while attending a wedding, and he was subsequently accused of espionage, a charge he vehemently denies. He maintains that he was set up by Russian authorities and that he was in the country for personal reasons rather than any intelligence-related activities. The timeline of Whelan's arrest began on December 28, 2018, when he was apprehended in a hotel room with what the Russian government claimed were classified documents. Following his arrest, Whelan was held in the notorious Lefortovo prison, a facility known for housing political prisoners and accused spies. His detention has drawn international attention and raised concerns about his treatment in custody. Images and footage of Whelan during his time in the Russian prison have circulated widely. These visuals often depict him in a prison jumpsuit, looking weary and stressed. Reports suggest that Whelan faced difficult conditions, including harsh treatment and a lack of adequate medical care. His family expressed concern over his mental and physical well-being, particularly given the psychological toll of isolation in a foreign prison. Throughout his imprisonment, Whelan consistently maintained his innocence. He described his situation as one of being wrongfully detained and believes he is being used as a pawn in a geopolitical game between the US and Russia. In one interview, he remarked on how the conditions in the prison were more challenging than he had anticipated, and he felt a deep sense of isolation. In June 2020, Whelan was sentenced to 16 years in a Russian penal colony after being convicted on espionage charges. His trial was widely criticized by international observers, who deemed it unfair and lacking transparency. Whelan's family and US officials called for his release, arguing that he was being held unjustly. His plight highlights the complexities of international relations, particularly regarding the treatment of American citizens detained abroad. His case raised questions about due process and human rights in Russia, further complicating the already tense US-Russia relations. He was later released in a United States-Russia prisoner swap in Ankara, Turkey, on August 1, 2024. Who knows what Paul Whelan endured during his time in prison? Even after his release, he hasn't spoken about his experience. Was he beaten, or worse, sent to a desolate place like Russia's frozen ghost towns? Speaking of which, let's take a look at these haunting ghost towns that were once labor camps. Number 4. Frozen Ghost Town. Photographer Maria Passer spent 3 weeks exploring the frozen ghost towns outside of Vorkuta, Russia. These towns were once busy coal mining communities, but now they are empty, with their streets and buildings taken over by ice and snow. The harsh Arctic climate has turned these villages into frozen time capsules, where entire apartments, homes, and personal belongings are eerily preserved beneath layers of frost. Vorkuta, located deep in the Russian Arctic, was once a major hub for coal mining and home to tens of thousands of workers, many of whom were prisoners in the infamous Gulag labor camps. At its peak during the Soviet era, the region was filled with miners and their families. But as the coal industry collapsed in the 1990s, so did these communities. By the early 2000s, many towns around Vorkuta were abandoned, leaving behind a frozen wasteland of empty buildings. Passer's haunting photographs reveal the beauty and sadness of these ghost towns. Entire buildings stand frozen in time, with apartments showing furniture, wallpaper, and personal items trapped beneath a thick layer of ice. The images show a landscape that is both desolate and breathtaking, with the ice creating an almost dreamlike quality. The result of Passer's adventure is a series of photographs that show the eerie quietness that now defines these once bustling places. But there's a reason why these photos aren't something the Russian government wants widely seen. Images like these highlight the neglected, forgotten corners of Russia's industrial past, the abandoned lives, and the stark realities of economic collapse. Authorities have long been sensitive about showing the decay of former Soviet power, particularly in regions tied to the Gulag labor camps, and releasing these photos challenges the image of a strong, unified Russia. The government has discouraged media coverage of these areas as they serve as visual reminders of the failure to maintain these once prosperous towns. Yet, despite the efforts to keep such images hidden, passers' photos have sparked conversations about the cost of leaving entire communities to freeze in time. If you think these frozen ghost towns are haunting, just wait until you see what lies in the heart of Norilsk, a city in Russia, in these next sets of images. Number 3. Environmental disaster in Norilsk. Norilsk, located in northern Russia, is one of the most polluted cities in the world, but you won't see much of it in mainstream media. Illegal photos smuggled out of the region reveal a haunting landscape devastated by toxic waste from its nickel mining industry. The city is home to Norilsk Nickel, the world's largest producer of nickel and palladium, and the source of much of the environmental destruction in the area. Founded in 1935 as a mining outpost during the Soviet era, Norilsk quickly grew into a hub of industry, producing vast amounts of metal for the Soviet Union's economy. However, the cost of that production has been catastrophic for the environment. Toxic emissions from the nickel smelting process have poisoned the air, soil, and water, creating an ecological disaster hidden from public view. The city has been dubbed a dead zone, as much of the surrounding landscape is barren and lifeless due to high levels of pollution. In 2020, a massive environmental crisis hit Norilsk when 21,000 tons of diesel fuel leaked from a power plant owned by Norilsk Nickel, polluting the nearby Ambernaya River. It was one of the worst oil spills in Russian history, and despite initial attempts to downplay the severity, satellite images and leaked photos showed the full extent of the disaster. The river turned red from the fuel, and the surrounding areas were heavily contaminated. The Russian government declared a state of emergency, and Vladimir Putin, the CEO of Norilsk Nickel, was pressured to take responsibility for the cleanup. The company was fined $2 billion, but the environmental damage will take decades to repair. Illegal photos taken by activists and journalists have also shown the broader devastation in Norilsk. The city's air is filled with sulfur dioxide emissions. Residents of Norilsk suffer from high rates of respiratory illnesses, cancers, and other health problems caused by long-term exposure to pollutants. Despite the dire conditions, the Russian government keeps tight control over information leaving the city, limiting the number of photos and reports that reach the outside world. But while the authorities may try to keep Norilsk's environmental disaster out of the spotlight, the leaked photos tell a different story. It's no longer news that Vladimir Putin and his government has an affinity for secrecy. And if you are wondering what else they are hiding, well, that is a secret train network. Before we move on, here's today's subscribers pick. This image of Vladimir Putin covered in blood recently surfaced online, sparking speculations. Official reports claim the injuries came from a boar attack during a forest tour, where Putin supposedly fought the wild animal before being rescued. However, many doubt this explanation, wondering if it might be an attempt by the media to cover up a more sinister story. Was this really an accident involving a wild animal, or could it be a personal attack on the Russian leader? The truth remains unclear, but what is certain is that Russian authorities don't want this image circulating online. Whether it's an attempt to suppress any further rumors or simply protect Putin's image, the secrecy around the picture only adds to the mystery. What do you think? Boer attack, or something else entirely. Number 2. Putin's secret train. It's no longer news that Vladimir Putin has an affinity for secrecy. One of the more intriguing aspects of his lifestyle is his secret train network. These specially designed trains are rumored to serve as his mobile hideaways, equipped with luxurious amenities, allowing him to travel across Russia while maintaining a low profile. In recent years, leaked images have revealed some astonishing details about these trains. For instance, one such train, known as the Putin Express, is said to have multiple carriages, including a private office, sleeping quarters, and even a gym. This train can move at high speeds, allowing Putin to travel across the vast landscapes of Russia efficiently. It is rumored that the train can reach speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. The existence of this train was brought to light by investigative journalists and opposition figures. In 2021, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny mentioned these trains in a report, suggesting they were part of a broader effort to shield Putin from public scrutiny. According to Navalny, these luxurious trains are built to ensure that Putin travels in comfort while keeping his movements hidden from the public eye. What makes these trains particularly noteworthy is not just their luxury, but also the heavy security measures surrounding them. It is believed that the trains are equipped with advanced surveillance technology to detect any potential threats during transit. Moreover, they often travel under the cover of darkness, further enhancing their secretive nature. Images leaked from within these trains show lavish interiors, complete with plush seating, polished wooden panels, and elegant dining areas. Some reports claim that the train's gym includes great equipment, allowing Putin to maintain his fitness routine while on the move. This is particularly interesting, considering his public persona as a strongman leader. The Russian government has dismissed many of these claims, labeling them as Western propaganda. However, the growing evidence suggests that Putin's secret train network is not just a rumor, but a well-planned operation to protect him from potential threats and keep his luxurious lifestyle hidden from the public. Moving on to the final set of images on our list, we are about to show you pictures of a city that does not exist on any map in Russia. Number 1. Sights from Zarne. Zarne is one of Russia's many hidden cities, part of the network of closed cities left over from the Soviet era. Officially known as a secret city, Zarne is not marked on public maps, and access is strictly controlled. Located in the Penza Oblast region, it was initially created to support Russia's nuclear weapons program. Like other secret cities, Zarne has been closed off to outsiders for decades, shrouded in secrecy and surveillance. The reason behind Zarne's hidden nature lies in its strategic importance to the Russian government. It was founded in the 1950s as a part of the Soviet Union's efforts to advance its nuclear capabilities, specifically to house workers for the country's nuclear plants and weapons facilities. People living in these cities were often part of military or scientific communities, tasked with the sensitive work of building and maintaining Russia's nuclear arsenal. Access to Zarne is restricted even today. To enter the city, one needs special permission, usually in the form of a government-issued pass. The entire city is surrounded by a guarded perimeter, and visitors are subject to strict scrutiny. Inside the city, however, life appears relatively normal. Residents have access to schools, hospitals, shops, and other amenities. The difference is that all these facilities exist to support a population primarily engaged in classified, government-related work. The city itself is home to several high-security facilities, including the Federal Nuclear Center and other research institutes focused on military technology. Because of the sensitive nature of the work conducted here, Zarne remains hidden from public view, with information about it tightly controlled. It is reported that the city also contains a sophisticated surveillance system to monitor residents and visitors, a reflection of the level of secrecy that surrounds it. Life in Zarne is not entirely without its perks. Residents often receive special privileges from the government, including higher salaries and improved living conditions compared to other parts of Russia. But there is also a price to pay for living in a city like Zarne. Movement in and out of the city is restricted, and residents must adhere to strict security protocols. Many of them cannot even discuss their work with family or friends outside the city. But what about the lives of those living inside Zarne's walls? How does one balance secrecy with the routine of daily life? Well, we do not know so much about this city, apart from a few leaked pictures from brave journalists who have visited the city. But we do hope to find out soon. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.